Hi, good morning. My name is Jaisik Gong, and I'm finance professor of Daegu University in Korea. I'm very pleased to present my paper at this distinguished conference. And the topic of my paper is controlling shareholders and managers' discretionary expenditures. And my purpose in this paper is to investigate the causal relationship between controlling shareholders in Korean firms and managers' discretionary expenditures. Let me review the prevailing Western literature about this kind of subject. There are two hypotheses. One is expropriation effect hypothesis, and the other is the incentive effect hypothesis. The expropriation hypothesis argues that controlling shareholders will change the firm's operational expertise and activities for their personal interest or POGs, that is POGs. So this will help to expropriate the interest of minority shareholders. The other hypothesis is the incentive hypothesis. That means the controlling shareholders will emphasize the firm's long-term investment horizon, and they have the family-centered ownership, and they emphasize good family reputations, so they will reduce the agent's cost. So they wanted to reduce the managers' discretionary expenditures. So in this paper, we found that controlling shareholders are negatively associated with managers' discretionary expenditures. First of all, let me review the relevant literatures. Is that first of all, we'll look at literature survey. For the first time, Burr and Mills mentioned that modern companies are characterized by the separation of ownership and management. And later, Claessens, Danforth, Fan, and Wang argued that Asian companies have family-centered shareholders, and these kind of controlling shareholders will nominate the CEO of the company, and they will direct CEOs to spend discretionary expenditures for their own interest. And Archreiter and Hunter, Kaiser, and Sicilianer also found that German firms increased their long-term corporate values and spend discretionary expenses in order to enhance the firm value and the family reputations in the long run terms. And in 2016, Jaisik, Ali, and Matter reported that real earnings management activities, including discretionary expenditures, are large in the raw stage of controlling shareholders. On the other hand, in the stage of large controlling shareholders' ownership, then the higher the controlling shareholders' stake, the lower the discretionary expenditures. This suggests the more inducement effect. And Lemon and Beans argue for the entrenchment effect. This effect is very important. Entrenchment effect and the exploitation effect. So controlling shareholders controls corporate assets. They exploit the property of minority shareholders for the sake of controlling shareholders' assets. And finally, in 2020, Article Chen, Gould, Budhani, Kwok, and Pittman, they analyzed the corporate ownership structures of Asian countries, and they found that real earnings management are widely occurring in family firms. So the wider the earnings management will be occurring in the market with the poor investment protection devices and with the higher demand for borrowing firms. They reported very interesting findings. So that's why we set up and we're going to verify the following null hypothesis. My null hypothesis is that controlling shareholders will have no correlation with the discretionary expenditures empirically. So the null hypothesis, there will be no correlation between controlling shareholders and discretionary expenditures. And in order to verify this null hypothesis, we used the following methodology: sample periods as this, and we use Korean listed firms, and my dependent variable is real earnings management, which is calculated as the sum of discretionary expenditures, including R&D costs, advertising expenditures, and training costs. And my independent variable is dummy variables, indicating the presence of controlling shareholders. That is, if this dummy variable is 1, that means the share of controlling block holders is more than 20%. Otherwise, the CB, this dummy variable will be 0. And my testable equation is this. The dependent variable is discretionary expenditures over sales, and there are several independent variables. variables. The main independent variable is dummy variables indicating the presence of controlling shareholders. That this is CD. The other is the control variables. The test results, my main test results are shown in Table 2 and Table 3. Table 2 and Table 3 Table 2 and Table 3 shows the effects of controlling shareholders on managers' discretionary expenditures. So if there is a positive correlation between controlling shareholders and the discretionary shareholders, that means the longer, the larger the stake of controlling shareholders, that means the higher discretionary expenditures. These positive correlations suggest tunneling effect or entrenchment effect, reflecting the agent's problems. So, controlling shareholders will adjust change actual operational activities to increase their own interest or their own perks. So that's why these kind of activities will exploit the property of the minority shareholders. So this kind of positive relation indicate the tunneling or entrenchment effect. On the other hand, if there is a negative correlation between controlling shareholders and the discretionary expenditures, that means controlling shareholders will emphasize the firm's long-term survival or growth. They're going to try to increase the firm values in the long run, and they take care of family expectations. So they think that their firms will pass on their families' succeeding generations. So they're going to reduce discretionary expenditures to decrease the agent's cost. That's why this kind of negative correlation suggests the incentive effects hypothesis. So we have found the negative correlation between controlling shareholders on managers' discretionary expenditures. In Table 2, the coefficient estimate of CD indicates the dummy variables, the presence of controlling shareholders more than 20%. This CD coefficient estimate is minus 3.29. Very significantly negative correlations over the discretionary expenditures. So this is also minus 3.15. It's a significantly negative correlations. Also, in Table 3, we we ran the other models to secure the robustness of our models. So we found and we obtained the very negatively significant coefficient estimate of CD. Here, minus 2.69, minus 2.77. This indicates significantly negative correlation between controlling block shareholders with the managers' discretionary expenditures. So this means that the larger controlling shareholders, the lower managers' discretionary cost expenditures. So this means agent's cost is controlled by block shareholders from family members. So we obtained the very interesting result that the larger majority shareholders, the more likely majority shareholders regard the firm as a permanent asset of the family to handle their future generations. So our estimated results in table 2 and table 3. Table 2, we have obtained very robust results in table 2 and in table 3. This robust statistical evidence reports that the results strongly support the incentive effect hypothesis. This hypothesis emphasizes the reputation of the family firms. The controlling shareholders of this kind of family firms emphasize the firm value maximization in the long run, and they're going to reduce agents' cost. They're going to reduce the discretionary expenditures to secure the family firm reputations. So this is a very interesting result, the negative correlation between controlling shareholders and the managers' discretionary expenditures. So the same negative correlation you may find the lettered statistics, the consistent minus significant negative correlation between CD and discretionary expenditures. Finally, we're going to summarize our findings. We're going to summarize our findings in this conclusion sections. We tried to investigate the effect of controlling shareholders on the manager's expenditures, manager's discretionary expenditures. So we try to analyze in depth whether the entrenchment effects or exploitation effects are compared to the incentive effects. So our results, our empirical results shows that there are significantly negative correlation between controlling shareholders and discretionary expenditures. This negative correlation means that if the stake of controlling shareholders is larger, then discretionary expenditures will be lower. That means this is evidence supporting strongly the incentive effective hypothesis. That means the controlling shareholders in Korean firms, majorly in Korean family firms, this kind of controlling shareholders controls the agent's cost of managers, and controlling shareholders pursue the family long-term value maximization activities, and they emphasize family firm reputation and value management, and they take care of agents' costs by reducing the discretionary expenditures. So, very interesting result. So, actually, we tried to empirically investigate investigate the causal relationship between controlling shareholders in Korean family firms and managers' discretionary expenditures, and we found the significantly negative correlations between two variables supporting the incentive effect hypothesis. So our empirical result, we hope our result will contribute to the extent literatures regarding the corporate governance and the agents problem papers. So this is my empirical test result. Any questions? If you have any questions, please send your question mails to my school mail address. Thank you very much. Thank you for your listening.